Okay, so we'll start. Welcome, everybody. It's really good to see you all here together. This is really nice. I'm going to just keep admitting people as I speak, and we can get started. So the program for the evening is as follows. I'm going to be the MC, and we will start out with Alan. Alan's going to do an El Maleh Rachamim to begin with. And then Rachel, you'll say a couple words, and Ima, Safta, will say a few words as well. And then, oh, here's Erica coming in. And then we're going to have Yechiel, or Gil, who's going to give a Devar Torah and also explain the website. And I don't know what that was. Okay. And then afterwards, when we're done with kind of the formal part of the program, everybody is welcome to share their memories or anything that they would like to say. And here's Aviva coming in as well.
Who is that?
This is Erica.
Erica, yeah.
Okay. And
hi, Erica.
Let's see if, okay. Where's Alan?
Right here.
Well, where are you on? Oh, there you are. Okay, I see you. All right, so let's start with you, Alan. Take it away.
Okay. So I'll do the Kel Maleh Rachamim. Right.
Maybe just adjust your camera a little bit because.
Yes, fine. Thank you, Renata.
The video editor would.
How about that? Better?
So rather than standing, I'm just going to move my camera lower.
I'm just going to stand since I'm the one saying it, and even though it's virtual. El Maleh Rachamim Shochem Bamromim Amsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Ashchina B'Ma'alot Kedoshim U'Torim Tazoraki Amazirim Et Nishmat Rav Zvi A ben Yaakov U'Dvaro Shalach L'Olamo Ba'avur Shemishpachto Nadvat Tzedakah Ba'ad Hazkarat Nishmato B'Gan Eden Tehei Menuchato L'chein Balo Rachamim Yaskireu B'Seisher Knafav L'Olamim B'Yisroar B'Tzara Chaim Et Nishmato Adonai Nachalato V'Yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo V'Nomar Amen.
Amen. What is that noise? Okay, thank you. I don't know what that noise was. See if anyone else is trying to come in. No. Okay, Rachel.
Thanks, Tali, and thank you, everyone. It's good to see the family here to commemorate Abba's 10th Yahrzeit. And a decade is a very long time to have someone not with you. And of course, we all know that Abba was an unforgettable person, but it's still very nice to be able to take a minute to remember. And we have now a namesake for Abba after 10 years, Erica. I don't know if you want to say Zvi A. It's actually Zvi A Bina, but her English name is Sophia, so it's Zvi A Sophia. So that just happened, and it really, really makes me feel like Abba's with us. And I have been feeling Abba's presence and his influence a lot. For the last 3 months, I've been intensely working on a book, and I realized that I am like my father in that Abba never wrote a sentence he wasn't willing to rewrite 50 times until he got it exactly right. And this is apparently a trait that can cross generations. But it's also why when my mother had this idea of putting everything that she had meticulously organized after Abba died on a website for everyone, that my first thought was really to wonder what Abba would say about it. I mean, it really did take Ima years to put everything together. There were so many versions of every manuscript and articles and even talks. And they were printed. You couldn't necessarily know which version was which and which version was the last. But my initial feeling was that Abba would have wanted to make sure that everything was exactly right and properly edited, and that the work that went on any website would reflect his very last thinking on the matter because he was really meticulous in how he presented himself to the outside world. But this website, Yechiel will say more about it, I think it pretty much has everything my mother found, all the tapes and all the articles. And sometimes we we really didn't know whether this was the first or last word that Abba had on the matter, but it doesn't matter. As I think about it now, I see my mother's wisdom, that just do it quality that makes things happen. And Ima knows that there's a lot that can be learned from someone, from what someone thinks, just at a specific moment in time. And even more, what can be learned from to see how somebody's thoughts can change over time, which of course is iterated by what's happening in the world and how we change. And this really is the mark of a dynamic thinker and a dynamic person. The ability to change and not get locked into a specific version of something, which in this world today really doesn't happen very much. So the fact that there are so many different versions and ways of saying things, it's really something from like an era gone by, but it's very, very special. So I'm looking forward to digging into this website, keeping in mind not only what my father said, but when he said it and what was going on at the time. And for Ima, I would just like to thank you and express how much I really admire you for your determination and strength of will. There's a lot to be said for deciding that when you want to do something, you just do it, and not let barriers stand in your way. And it's how you returned to Israel and made Aliyah in your late 80s. It's why you donated Abba's letters from the Chazon Ish to the National Library, because you wanted to make sure people knew who Abba was, that he existed, who he was, and now this. So initially the idea was that anyone in the family and whomever else knew my father or wants to know him could have access to this really unique mind, heart, and spirit, but Ima would not have happened without you. So I just want to really make sure everybody knows that. So thank you all very much for being here.
Okay, thank you for those words. And I think it's also a good time to thank all the people really who were involved in this project. First of all, Renan spent a lot of time on taking the videos and transcribing many of them. And I think that really everybody who has worked on this, and Liz, I know that you've done a ton of work on creating the PDF files and organizing them on the Google Drive, and really just everybody who has worked, and especially Yechiel, who has developed this website, who he's going to describe. So thanks everybody who's been a part of this. And Ima's going to say a few words, and then we'll go on to Yechiel. Ima?
Thank you. First, I want to welcome all of you for coming here. And it's very nice to see all of you in one big picture and to recognize each and every one of you. And now we have to have another picture with the great grandchildren that we have, and with all the little sweet little babies that we have, and that will be wonderful. I did start the work that I was supposed to do when I still was at home in Boca. It took me 3 years to sit in his room day and night, not day and night, mostly days, some nights, and to go over a world of paper. There was so much paper. I got some help from some of his students. The help was very, very helpful because there were a lot of paper that I did not need. It was copies and copies and copies and a copy machine worked day and night, and it copied everything. So you didn't need so much copies. My husband would put a lot of copies before when he came to a class, just in case people don't have books and people don't know how to find it in books. So he copied whatever he wanted to talk about. And that's why we had a lot of copies and all these. And every day I took out to big boxes with the papers that we did not need because it was all copies of material that he was teaching. And I put it out for the garbage man to take it. But those things that I decided to keep, I kept in orderly way. What was important for me, everything he wrote. Articles, everything he recorded was lessons, and sometimes it were talks that he gave that had nothing to do with scholarship or anything like that. It was like a talk before Kol Nidre, or a talk before a certain tefillah that we say in an occasion. It was all recorded, and I kept everything of it. And when I was telling about it, I said that I also kept little notes that he put on the door to say, I'll be back soon. If he had to go to run to some place for an errand and come back, he would put on the door, Techef ashuv, I will be there in momentarily. And I did not throw this piece of paper because it was his handwriting. And but I organized the tapes, which was a big job because every tape that I put to a disc, I first heard the tape, and then I decided if it fits or not to make a disc out of it. And I did some discs. There is a list of the discs that I have, the recording that I have, and they are very good because after I heard them and I decided they are good, I had this machine that could make discs, could make recording on the disc, and then I heard them again to see if and indeed it came out right. So everything that I had to hear, it was like at least 3 times. And this is time consuming because every class could be an hour, and the same thing about so that was a big job. And when I came to Israel, I knew one thing: I need big help, and I wouldn't be able to do what I did there. I did there certain kind of work, but I won't be able to do it here in Israel. You have to find out who is publishing and who is doing and who is printing and all kinds of things, which I was completely foreign. And I have to say, if not for my 3 children, God bless them all, and nothing would have been done. And especially Yechiel and Tali, that really started lately to work and to do. Yechiel did this website, which probably is a wonderful job. He will
Let me show you.
Yeah. Right idea. He wants to show.
Let me show it.
He will show it. He will show it.
Here's my fear is that we're talking about it. It's going to be very big expectations, and I'm going to show it, and it's going to be like, oh, that's not so good.
Yeah. Okay.
No. Okay. Fine. So thank you, my children, very much. And thank you for the nice words you said about me. And thank you for all of you for coming and sharing this with us. It's a big night for me. It's as big as the moment that we went to the library to see what they did with the Chazon Ish letters. And when I saw this place, which was called special scholarly works. And then I saw the name of Chazon Ish, and then I saw the name of your father. And after that, the name of Rav Kook. And I wanted to cry because I said to my children, Abba finally found his resting place. Between the Chazon Ish and Rav Kook, his name is inside because the letters is he's the recipient of the letters. So he found his resting place in a very, very honorable way. And thank everyone for sharing this, and we will go on with the program.
Thank you, Ima. Okay, great. Yechiel, you've got the...
Awesome. Thank you. Okay.
Great.
I'm sharing my screen. I hope you can see it.
Yeah, you can see.
Okay. So what I wanted to do is introduce the website, but before introducing the website, I wanted to share a Devar Torah. Abba, if anything, was a teacher and spent his days focused on Torah, and in particular, focused on the interpretation of text. Out of the thousands of pieces of content that we reviewed, there was one that really spoke to me that I thought was interesting to share with you, having to do with textual ambiguity. So that's what I present. That's what I'm presenting today, and you'll see why this is actually really kind of special, especially where it starts with. Let me get to. Here we go. So this part is the introduction to the Devar Torah. This is actually not part of Abba's Devar Torah, but there's a Mishnah in Yoma that discusses the procedures of how the Kohen Gadol performs the rituals on Yom Kippur. And in so doing, there's one of the Mishnayot that talk about how the priest goes in through the Kadosh to the Kodesh HaKadoshim to perform a ritual, and he gets to the space between two curtains. And in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi says, what do you mean two curtains? There's only one curtain. It says so in the Torah, there's one curtain. Why are they two curtains? And the Gemara explains that indeed there was one curtain when it came to the Mishkan, and there was also one curtain when it came to the second temple, the one that the rabbis and the Mishnah were most familiar with, because they at least had memories of it, or some had seen it or heard about it. But the first temple had two curtains. And that's something that we learned from this Gemara. Now, one of the things the Gemara then wonders is, where exactly is the second curtain? That second curtain could be in the Kadosh, in which case this ritual is performed not in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, but in the sanctuary itself. Or that second curtain can be inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, in which case the ritual is there, right? And now the Gemara is sort of intrigued about this ambiguity because no one who's having this conversation has ever seen it, right? So there has to be some sort of tradition as to where this is. And the Gemara says, well, it actually kind of depends on how you read a particular pasuk of Malachim Aleph, and based on that interpretation, we can infer that either this ritual took place in the Kadosh between the two curtains there, or in the Kodesh HaKadoshim between the two curtains there. Now, as it turns out, the Gemara doesn't discuss the resolution. We infer the resolution given that we read the pasuk. Actually, neither of the two ways that the Gemara specifically states, but in a way that infers the second. But one of the things the Gemara does note is that this ambiguity that you have in terms of reading this particular pasuk to determine where this section is, it's sort of like if you were to read words, and if words are like spaces and curtains are like commas, the question is, how do you parse the sentence? And, as in English, and I'm sure in Hebrew, you have all types of cute jokes like, let's go eat, grandma, and let's go eat grandma, right? And the difference between the two is where you put the comma. And similarly over here, the Gemara says that where you put the hechin, the titain, extra nun, sham, where you place that, you infer where the words are. The Gemara then brings a very interesting braita, and that's where the Dvar Torah actually begins. the Gemara says, why was there ambiguity in that phrase? Don't we know that there are only 5 psukim that have ambiguity? And it brings this bright of Isi ben Yehuda, who says that there are only 5 mikraot that we don't have hechreya, that they are worded ambiguously and we don't know where exactly to put the word in terms of whether it's part of the first phrase or the second phrase. And the Gemara then mentions just the names, right? So only this is in the Gemara itself. So se'et, mushukadim, machar, arur, vakam, those 5 words and nothing else. And then the Gemara proceeds to discuss who is this Isi ben Yehuda, and then it sort of drops and continues to something else. But this is the launching point where Abba's Dvar Torah started. There are 5 statements in the Torah that a person named Isi ben Yehuda, who does not have the honorific of Rav or Rebbe, so presumably he doesn't have smicha. There are some who suggest that he, given the name Isi, may be in a scene, one of the non-rabbinic people who didn't follow rabbinic tradition and therefore had these ambiguities captured. Whereas we don't have these ambiguities, we know exactly how to read these because we lane with trup, and the trup tells us where to put the brakes. But we mentioned these. So these 5 are 5 unrelated psukim. They're presented actually not in order, but each of these words are words that could have some sort of textual ambiguity. What's interesting about the textual ambiguity is that each one invites a little bit of speculation. What would the pasuk read if we read it differently than the one we do today? So in the case of se'et, it's related to guilt and repentance. Se'et meaning to be carried. Are you carrying the guilt, or is the repentance carrying you? Meshukadim having to do with the way in which the menorah was crafted, with something having to do with shkedim. So either it was an almond shell that was used to engrave into the gold, or it was a bulb in the shape of an almond, like a teardrop eyeball shape, or it was engraved the way almond shells have, like linear sort of engravements in it. They're not really clear. And depending on how you read the sentence, it's not really clear like how the menorah looked like, which is odd because the Torah goes into excruciating details as to every part of the menorah. And at the end of the day, if you were to draw one, it wouldn't really be clear as to how you would draw it. And then a few others. One I wanted to point out as really being maybe of these 5, the one that strikes me the most interesting. They each have something interesting about that. But that's the one machar. When facing an emergency physical threat, one has to prepare to fight, and one should pray to God. So the question is, which one comes first? Which one do you do first, right? So you're facing an emergent threat. Somebody attacks you. You need to defend and retaliate in some manner. And as the Torah would suggest, you would reach out to God. So do you do that before you fight back or after? So in Isi ben Yehuda's view, there's an ambiguity in the text. And here's the pasuk, Vayomer Moshe el Yehoshua, v'charlanu anashim, v'tzei lachem ba'amalek, machar, word machar, and then anochi nitzav arosh hagiva mateh Elohim biyadi. So there are 2 ways of reading this phrase according to Isi ben Yehuda. The way we read it is the first way, but potentially one could read it the second way. In the second way, Moshe tells Yehoshua, tomorrow you're going to go into battle. Today I have to pray. In the way we read it, however, he says, go fight Amalek, presumably now. Tomorrow I'm going to go al Rosh Hahar. Now, it's kind of interesting if you ever wonder, why is Moshe going tomorrow? Like, why wouldn't Moshe go today? Is he busy? Is he doing something more important, than dealing with the matters at hand? We don't really know. The Torah doesn't tell us. But what Isi ben Yehuda tells us is that this ambiguity, not knowing where to place the etnachta specifically, gives us the possibility of 2 alternate readings of the text. Again, we have the reading of the text that we have. Each of the 5 mikraot present itself with that kind of interesting. What if we were to read it differently? Something else comes from it. To learn more. So this is the launch, right? Abba actually recorded 3 days worth of lectures about this, where he went through each of those 5 mikraot in detail with his students. In this case, it was in Boca Raton. And if you go to tzviyehuda.org /morning classes, you will find that lecture on the 5 ambiguous phrases in the Torah. So I say that to you, and I even show you where to go and find it. But what I really want to do is reveal to the family that there is a new website that we put together. It is not the conclusion. It is actually just the beginning. It doesn't even have half of our materials. It has a lot of materials, and it's not even half. I wanted to walk through some of the screens, just the screen capture, and then show you what's there and invite you to the website itself. The landing page will show you 5 sections, and then a little bit about Abba, Saba. The 5 sections are articles, audio classes, a section about the Chazon Ish letters, a section about Shir HaShirim, which was particularly valuable and precious to him, and the collections of the thoughts of the week that he had placed for Parashat HaShavua. As we go through more, we may add more sections because there's only so much that you want to put in a section to make it navigatable. And again, a little bit on the bottom about Abba, both from a public perspective, but also as a family man. I mean, we know him as the our family, as our father, our grandfather, as a member of our family, even though many people in the world know him as their teacher, their mentor, and their guide. When you go through the website, the article section is organized. I have both Hebrew and English articles. I try to do my best to label the Hebrew ones with Hebrew titles and the English ones with English titles, and to be a little multilingual about it. When you click on any of these, or almost any of these, you'll get an article, often a PDF. Thank you, Liz, for taking a lot of these things and making them into PDF. We have articles in Google Doc and Word Doc and Dafka Writer and a variety of formats. And I think that PDF is going to be the way to go for this. There's a lot more to come. The next section has to do with audio files. Thank you, Ranan, in particular, but many people who were involved in capturing these audio files. What I have is a landing page where I've categorized the audio files by decade for those that were Shavua Ivri, and then a collection of those in Hebrew and English. The Rabbinic Mind is a collection of recordings that he did really under that topic, and then other lectures that I was able to find. This might grow. When you click on any one of these, you will then get a page where you could click to hear the audio lectures. They're actually on SoundCloud, but you can listen to them through the website. There's a page just on reflections of the Chazon Ish. I have a few articles that Abba wrote about the Chazon Ish, some of the letters printed here, and links to the National Archives, as well as some selected articles that Abba wrote, the ones that he wrote in tradition, and elsewhere, the ones that he wrote really letters to Rachel that were published in tradition. So they're there on that page. On the Shir HaShirim page, dedicated to our mother, really Shir HaShirim was a very special thing for Abba. He wrote a meticulous translation where he broke the Megillah into its multiple sections, labeling each song, identifying who sang it to whom, and cross-reference the use of words in various parts of the Megillah. So when you click on the Shir HaShirim, you'll find an embedded page, which, thank you, Liz, for transcribing the content of Abba's translation, where you see the number of the song, what it's called, how many psukim, who said it to whom, and then references below. And then finally, we're working on this, and that's the thoughts of the week. Abba wrote a thought of the week every week between the years of 1970 and 2006, I think. A lot. I mean, there are a lot. So what we've started to do is go through Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, Devarim, and then there are some weeks where it's not really about the parasha, but it has to do with the holiday that coincides with that week, so it's not really associated with the parasha. We've organized them, and as we collect them, so we've done some of Bereshit so far and a few on the other books. When you click on a link, you get a PDF of each of the thoughts of that week, where we deduplicated them. Because in some cases he repeated, some cases he repeated precisely, which we removed, and in some cases he repeated with some changes. Like it's the same title, but when you look at the detail, you say, no, he actually brought something out a little different this year. So we've done our best to make sure that each parasha has a sampling of between 15 and 30 different thoughts of the week that reflect the things that he did. It works on the web, it works on your tablet, it works on your mobile phone. So I'm pretty happy with how it came out, but I also recognize that it is far from being done. I want to invite you, the family, and those close friends who will see this to explore it and then give me feedback. So if I made mistakes, which I'm sure I have, if you have articles that you think should be there or things that you think shouldn't, let me know so that we can continue to grow this on a upcoming basis. We will continue to upload more audio files because we know that there are more that we didn't put in yet. We're going to upload more thoughts of the week because that's going to be a project that Liz and I have been working on for the past couple of weeks to organize, as well as articles. In some cases, the PDFs we already have. In other cases, we're editing to create the PDF that we want to position. As Rachel properly said, there's a reason why a lot of these things are published. There's a reason why some of these things aren't. So we're biasing on the things that have been published and therefore really represent what Abba wanted out there. And we're scrutinizing those things that haven't been published because we want to make sure that we're not overstepping by publishing something that Abba may not have wanted. I think Abba was very sensitive to the size of audiences and who he was presenting to. So I want to make sure that we can convey that sensitivity, but at the same time, make this resource available to the family. That's what I have. I really want to now give people an opportunity, and Tali, you can take over to share thoughts. But there we go. That's what I wanted to share.
That's great. Thank you very much, Yechiel, for that. As you can imagine, this has been a ton of work and a ton of time. And yeah, in fact, Alan and I were both kind of involved in after Renan did so much of the transcribing of the cassettes. It was really, there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cassettes. So we took them to a friend of ours who does this professionally, and he'd been working for hours on transcribing the cassettes. And when you listen to it, some of them are very top quality. Some of them are not such great quality. Some of them stop in the middle, and that can be frustrating. So it's just understanding that this is a bit of a raw project. It's not perfectly curated, but I think that understanding that we did what we could with the materials that we have a lot of materials. I think that, and again, this is an ongoing project that we're mostly hoping is going to benefit the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, the cousins, the nieces, the nephews. And so at this point, I would like to just give the floor over to anybody, first of all, who wants to ask any questions to Yechiel about the site, as well as possibly share any memories or tell any stories, or feel free to open up your mic, and or else you can use the hand thing. Yeah, Liz just put, or Yechiel just put the website on the in the chat box. So feel free to go ahead and share something. Come on, Daniel, Mati, you remember the most. And of course, you too, Bina.
while you relish on some of these old pictures with the sideburns.
Yeah. Pictures. I was hoping you would have some pictures of the polyester leisure suits.
So that's part of the editing is
That's going to be in the next version.
Yeah.
Particularly the green plaid and the psychedelic polyester button-down shirts.
I'll just say, I just want to say thank you, Uncle Yechiel and everyone. I mean, everyone says thank you to me for doing the tapes. I didn't do that many. It was something that I came across in Safta's house maybe like maybe even 4 or 5 years ago already. And I, thought, oh, I should probably digitize these, not realizing how much time it would take and how many tapes there really are. I had done maybe, I don't know, 15 or 20. I mean, in my head, what I imagined was exactly this eventually. And I thought that I would do it. And of course I never did. So it's nice to see that something that, I just decided to kind of start on my own and then I couldn't continue it because I had no time. I'm happy to see that it actually did happen in the end. So thank you, because it looks really, really nice.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. I do encourage you. There's plenty of lectures in Hebrew for the grandchildren here who speak Hebrew, and there are plenty of lectures in English, and some of them are really hilarious and funny, and also very informative as well.
I just wanted to sort of jump in and say thank you, because it's a gift. Feels like a gift to me, because I didn't know Zvi very much. And that's an opportunity to get to know an uncle I didn't really grow up with very closely, the Nama from New York. Hello. So thank you for that. I think it would be, I'm looking forward to exploring a bit and learning more about Zvi and about his teachings and just about the person that he was. So thank you, everybody, because that's really a gift. And if it's allowed, I'd be happy to share this with my sisters, so they can share it with their kids, because it's a family heirloom in a way. So thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Okay.
So here's the thing, because you asked if it's allowed. It's public. It's public. So it absolutely is. Once it's public, you can't stop it. But that's right. So that of course is the challenge. And now we live in a world where there will always be some people who scan through the entire thing to find the one thing that offends them and say, you see, he said this, right? And he did. And there are things he said that really will be in that category. That was part of, I think, the totality of him. But that's fine. And that's what I think you should explore.
Okay.
Well, I would like to join with Nama with the thanks, and I wanted to share with you a memory from Zvi. We visited, Shlomo and me, myself, we visited Zvi in I don't remember where you were living down south.
Florida.
At the time in Florida, and Zvi sat down with us and opened the Gemara in the Guaryeh, and he said, Israel azim ba'umot. And he studied with us the whole issue of what it means, Israel azim ba'umot. And it was such a special study that we came back and we shared it afterwards with friends and our children. And to this day, once in a while, we pick up Israel azim ba'umot. This year, it's very relevant to figure out what it is that keeps us going on one hand, and why azim ba'umot is the reason to give us the Torah. So I'm really looking forward to all that we can find on this site, and thank you very much for making it in a way that everybody can enjoy it.
Thank you. Thanks very much for that. Does Sophie want to say something? Because she looks like she's kind of in distress by the things that are being said here. Okay.
That's what she has to say.
Well, thank you for adding your 2 cents.
I have some memories to share, but I've been thinking about Saba a lot, of course, and naming this one. And when it's sorry, is the sound weird?
No, it doesn't.
One thing I'll just share is I have this memory of Saba when I was about 10 years old, and he was staying with us for a prolonged period of time. Maybe he was teaching at Chovevei for a semester. And, he asked me what I'd learn in school and would promptly tell me that my teacher was wrong.
Mhm.
And he'd say, okay, so you need to tell your teacher. And I'm 10 years old. I'm like, sure, definitely going to go over and tell my teacher that she's wrong about this thing that I didn't even know she was wrong about. And so so I'd come home from school and Saba would say, did you tell your teacher she was wrong? And I said, no. And the next day he asked me the same thing after school and the same thing the next day. And after about a week, he said, why aren't you telling her she was wrong? And I was like, I can't tell her she was wrong. I'm a student. I can't just tell her she was wrong about this thing that she told us. And he said, now you are wrong. And he basically taught me the lesson of speak truth to power at a young age. And the fact that I was, just 10 years old doesn't make a difference, And I think one of the lasting effects of that is it gives me confidence that I don't even realize that I have to call, I can walk into a room full of executives and not feel intimidated or like I don't have a say and able to point out what I perceive as a situation. So hopefully as this little one continues to use her voice and find her voice, that's something we can convey that, even young minds can stand up to people, especially if they understand something to be right and wrong, which, to be clear, I did not understand what was wrong about what my teacher taught, but even still, it's one memory I'll share.
Thank you, Erica. Thanks for that.
I'll say one thing.
Yes, Rebecca.
So I was, maybe besides yourself, the last person to see Saba.
Move a little closer to your microphone.
Can you guys hear me? Why?
Try now.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I was one of the last people to see Saba alive, besides for Safta. I went by myself to Florida for Rosh Hashanah, and I walked 2.5 miles to the rehab facility. I know, I'm a gadol, seriously. But I walked by myself like all that time to spend Rosh Hashanah with Saba, so he wouldn't be alone. And most of you didn't see him like that, but it was very sad because he couldn't talk. And you could see in his eyes how sad he was that he didn't have his voice. His voice was like the most important thing to him. So I think that this is like the most beautiful thing that anyone could do for him, is to publish his voice and publish his works and his recordings and everything. So even if maybe you guys are concerned, like he didn't want this out, I think he would just be happy that his voice is out there, because that was truly the most important thing to him and what he had to say. So I think it was very beautiful that you guys are doing this, and I will be listening to all the recordings on my long commute to work, an hour. So.
Thank you, Rebecca. I think that's beautiful what you're saying. It really is that.
Oh, sorry. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. This isn't supposed to happen to me, given I'm only 38, but I had like a zillion technical difficulties in the last 10 minutes. Got disconnected, reconnected, whatever. So apologies for that. But yeah, so first of all, I wanted to say thank you very much to everyone for organizing this. Thanks, Ima, thanks, Aunt Rachel, and thanks, Yechiel. And it's really beautiful what you guys put together on the website. It's a really, really nice tribute, I think. few things. I mean, there's a lot of things that come to mind about Saba, but I guess a few things. One is that he really did, and I'm assuming that it's captured in some of the things that he wrote. I don't know, but he really did have a good sense of humor. He was a funny individual, and I picked up on that even as a young kid. He was always like joking around and had a smile, and not always had a smile. Sometimes he didn't have a smile, but oftentimes he had a smile and he was joking around, and he did have a very healthy sense of humor, and I think he has kind of a sense of sort of cynicism about certain things, which was pretty funny. He always smelled very well. Had a healthy dose of cologne at all times, which I enjoyed. And I guess in terms of just my relationship with him a little bit, like after we moved, but when they would come visit, and afterwards when I was able to visit him a few times in the States, definitely as I got older, I came to appreciate his, I guess, just kind of his way of thinking, in the sense that he was a very critical thinker. He just had different perspectives on things that you wouldn't necessarily. He didn't understand why Monty liked Calvin and Hobbes, not the philosopher but the comics. Yes, that's a true story. I don't know if everybody here knows that story. I just saw that
I'll
in
tell
the
the
chat.
story really quickly, that when you were mitzvah, or there was a time where you wanted, I said, Saba and Savta are coming from America. What do you want them to get you? And you said you wanted the Calvin and Hobbes book, the comics, the Calvin and Hobbes comics. And Saba went to the bookstore and he said, my grandson, he is 12 years old and he likes to read the works of John Calvin and of Hobbes, the philosopher. And that's a true story.
Yes. Yeah.
He didn't know about Calvin and Hobbes.
It is true that, later in life as a university student, I did end up encountering some of those works, just not when I was 12. Anyways, and I guess just like the way that he just made it his life project to draw out these truths, and these or what he saw as truths, but just the wisdom from the texts, from everything that the foundational texts have to offer, that I think anybody can connect to, whether secular. Obviously, there's a humanistic perspective that he has, but he combined that with also obviously interest in halakha. But I just think that he had a very kind of broad and deep perspective at the same time, and I hope that not only people who, his family, for whom this project is probably most relevant to, but even other people, if they are exposed, they haven't been before, and if they can be exposed to his writings and, kind of spread his wisdom and his writings and his work beyond, where it already is, that could be a blessing. And, we should all be so lucky to have such a vast, collection of works to look back on and to share with the world when we're all done with whatever we're doing. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mati. Thank you.
I also have a book story.
Yes, Aviva.
Saba and Savta would often come to stay for the summer and for Yomim Noraim in Bet Shemesh. And obviously Saba's favorite thing to do is to buy books. And he would always, buy all the books, not necessarily the books in Israel, and he would always leave them in Israel, the ones that he didn't like so much. And he would say, here, Aviva, you should read this. And I would say, why? Is this a good book? And he said, no, but you should read it. You should know if it's a good book and if it's not a good book. You should definitely, first of all, know it. And now I am actually, I'm doing a lot of reading of his book, of his doctorate. And it's a very good book, even though it's a little bit less interesting probably for the public to read, rather than his, when he would speak, and he would have like very relevant things to say that were relevant for everyone based on who was in the room with him. I've seen him with, different types of groups. I've seen him speak in Hebrew and in English, and he was just so good at figuring out who he was talking to, and like making it. I can't speak in English, making it מדויק, like exactly, like exact. And reading his doctorate now is so different. Like reading it from the perspective of studying it, because I'm doing also my second degree in Talmud, and being able to appreciate it now. Like I just wish I could go back. I was talking to Safta about it a few weeks ago. I wish I could ask him questions that I wasn't studying Talmud back then. 10 years ago, I wasn't in university yet. And I really feel like there were so many things that I still could have learned from him. It's a very big loss, and it's a very beautiful thing that we have now, this archive of all the things that we have that he said and that he wrote. So thank you so much, Yechiel. It was really, I'm really looking forward to looking through it.
Okay, great.
I could share something, I guess. When I was in college, I took a philosophy course, and for some reason, philosophers don't write in English. So I called Saba to help me understand them. And for the semester we did, and we would also analyze them critically, seeing if are they saying things that are true, are they saying things that are nonsense. And I really like that because it helped me to analyze and be critical of what you're reading and not just read them. And it made me sort of interested in philosophy. So I'm very happy about that. And it was good.
You want to say one thing? That I don't have a lot of like childhood memories that I remember about talking Torah or deep conversations. Too many, those I don't remember. But I do know that now, as I'm growing, I remember going to Midrasha and always thinking like, I wonder what my grandfather thought of this person. I wonder what my grandfather thought of this person. And a lot of girls who had like yichus in their family would say, "Oh, my great grandfather was this rabbi," and everyone knew them, and all the class knew them. And I remember thinking, every time I talk about my grandfather, everyone thinks it's a Rav Kook, or every time like, no one knows who my grandfather is really, like by the name. And now I have a Hasidish friend who was telling me, she's a Belz Hasid, and she was telling me that in Bnei Brak, they say that because they learn Torah, whatever, the Chazon Ish said that because they learn Torah, the rockets don't fall into Bnei Brak, something like that. So then I said to her, "Do you know that my grandfather was the student of the Chazon Ish?" And then my mother whispered to me, "She won't believe you." And there was a part of me that said, "Why is it basa? Like that I can't like show it off because it?" And I think on the other side, it's cool to me because real yichus is it doesn't matter. Like when things are from the heart and when things are really from a makom tov leitiv im Torah and learn, doesn't matter what the name is. But now it is cool, I think, that when you look up his name, there is a place to find things. And it's not just a name in the air. Like you could show people, it's not for the people, but it's cool that till now this wasn't a thing. I think it makes it even more true.
Great, thank you, Naama. Bina, did you have your hand up before?
So I wanted to join what Aviva said. I didn't, I had little time that I spent with Saba, but it was always very meaningful and helpful. And thank you very much for this website that will let us now. I know Hanan is eager to see too. He's teaching now, and we will definitely read a lot and listen to lots of stuff there. We used to listen to Saba for tapes for Hanan's bar mitzvah, I think. So we listened to them many times. So that's my memory.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much, Bina.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, this is really nice. I'm glad that we did this. Okay, is there anybody else who wanted to say something before we wrap up? So, thank you again for everyone who came. And as Yechiel said before, please look at the website and look at it critically if there's anything that you think shouldn't be on there, if there's anything that you think should be on there, if there's anything that you think about the organization of it that could be improved, just let Yechiel know. And again, it's zviyehuda.org. Yehuda.org. You've got all the PDFs and you've got the audio files. Enjoy, feel free to share. And thanks everyone for coming. Laila Tov. I'm going to turn off.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm going to turn off the recording. If I can find how to do that.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Good seeing everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, nice seeing everyone.